They say walk in your truth and not in your shadows. They also tell you you're too much, making you feel like a burden, but they always want you to speak up for what isn't spoken. Unspoken truth, hiding behind an unspoken poet, unspoken stories, never get told by unspoken words.
Watching this blunt burn the ashes like the sands of time, my lungs filling with memories, shackled away in my sentencing. My gavel hanging by heartstrings, I can hear my demons humming. I'm pledging allegiance faithfully, taking a dive, so pray for me. That's God, yea, what Allah, march through the fog in my armor, lockstep with my mind and body, my soul will be soon to follow. I conquered crooks and grave robbers, made promises to my mom and them. I was going to college and glass ceilings wasn't sealing me. I had to make my own, no sticks and stones and artillery. Soliloquies weave tales of pain and hunger so vividly. My brothers locked in cages, sisters slain, remain nameless, seeking asylum. The word is so different than what they painted. No Pollux or Basquiat's hit the thuds as the bodies drop. Them boys in blue must be them thugs y'all keep talking about. Somewhere a weed man just got life for a third strike and now he can't see his kids grow. Now I'm not condoning his actions, but let a white man spray up a church instead of terror, they say tragic. If I got shot, they talk about my past. But if my skin was light and I got knifed, they talk about the future I never had. That's the American dream.
Yo, what's good? It's your girl, Becky the Paul. Welcome to the Unspoken Words podcast. You guys, we're at episode 97. Woo, we have special guests here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, my name is Gabe, a.k.a. Anarchpo3t. Coming live. I'm glad to be here. I miss you.
Well, I don't know why he's acting shy and quiet over here, because you guys know he was from season 1 or 2.
Oh yeah,
but he was,
OG.
and he's been showcased on the Unspoken Words. Was it Snap? And then you've been to the Podiversary.
Chill, Becky. I'm trying to control my ego.
You don't need to control it here.
All right.
Bring it on up. But anyways, I brought you back here because, you know, during these times, things have changed, right? And I'm going to go ahead and call you out because you already knew it was coming. But you ain't been doing no poetry. But I will say, you do come in clutch when you support other people, right?
Yes.
So I know you've been ducked down and working and trying to get your shit together, but what else have you been doing creatively in the poetry world to get you where you are now?
For me, it's been a lot like less writing new content as much as it's been trying to perfect like what I already have
you
created.
Bring this mic up, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry, guys. So, it's really been like less of creating new content and not so much focus on writing as much as it is like performing.
Right.
A lot of that had to do with like I found myself like posting just for the sake of the engagement,
right,
and writing just for the sake of like the engagement and the satisfaction of getting likes and stuff like that. And I really had to check my shit and realize like, yo, that's not why you write, that's not why I write. So for me, I had to take a real far step back. So like if you noticed, there ain't shit on my Instagram
I was like,
anymore.
I went to go do a little bit spy work, and I was like, he only has one flyer up there, bro.
Yeah, I don't have anything posted anymore, and it's not because I'm trying to like start over as much as like I'm just trying to really change the way that I'm packaging my content and trying to be way more intentional with what I'm doing. So I've stepped back from writing and more about like focus on my performance and like having those things be quality.
I know we talked about, I asked you a question, I was like, what's on your mind lately? And you was like talking about making moves, like making it intentional, you know? And that's one thing I think we forget as creatives or as human beings, right? We want to do it because we want to do it, not because like we're told to do it, right?
Right.
How did you have that like realization that, oh shit, like I found myself?
In terms of like being intentional or like wanting to become more intentional,
right?
Because I was just on autopilot.
Okay.
I was like, I would write something or I would rush through writing something because I was like, oh shit, I ain't posted in a week. It's been 2 weeks. Right. I got to keep my engagement up. I got to just crank something out and throw it out there so I can get some likes. So that way people don't forget about me. And at the end of the day, like the people who really fuck with me gonna fuck with me whether I posted a week ago or 2 months ago.
That is
so
true.
It has nothing to do with like how frequent I'm posting. At the end of the day, like if I got 10 likes or 1,000 likes, that shit don't mean nothing to me if I'm not getting the impact that I want. So for me, it was realizing that I was essentially like, I was hoeing out my own creativity by fucking just posting it just for the sake of posting it. So for me, it was about, getting back to not my roots, right, but getting back to like why I really like not only just doing poetry but performing in general.
Right. So I know we're hopping into 2021 right now, right? Yeah. You just had a performance like a couple months ago. We're gonna go ahead and just touch upon like when you first decided to perform, because I know it's been a while since you've been to open mics and all the above. What made you actually get back into performing again?
It was all about the venue, and it was all about who the event was for. Right. So for me, like performing for an event put together by somebody that I support personally, that I know personally, meant everything to me. I was gonna be a lot more selective, and am going to be a lot more selective moving forward on where I showcase my craft. And that's not because I think I'm hot shit and like, oh, I'm so selective, but again, just going back to being intentional with where I'm placing my energy. That's something that I've really had to like come to grips with rather, is like understanding who I'm giving my energy out to, and then what's being reciprocated, and like understanding that when am I draining and when am I pouring into somebody, and then vice versa. So for me, it was all about the right venue, the right event, and just the right people organizing the event.
So I know we have a lot of people who host events, right? Yeah. They always want to throw poetry in there somehow, How do you pick and choose what events you want to be? Because I know like you go to my events, right? You perform
always.
there.
Anytime.
And I know the energy is always there, but I know even I have chosen random events. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll be there, right? But do you ever get the feeling of maybe like when you're already there at the event that you probably maybe don't belong here?
Oh, 100%. I've had some experiences in the past where I've done open mics at different venues or different events and didn't feel like it was a poetry centered event. And like for me, especially as a performer, like my poetry means a lot to me, and it means it's a really intimate thing. So like if I've been in venues where I felt like a poem or poets per se were like second class, and that doesn't mean that stuff was on purpose or malicious, as much as maybe my type of art wasn't fit for that crowd. So I've had that before, and again, that's not any sort of like ill will or talking shit about anybody that I've performed with or for, because at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the opportunity. That's just me, reflecting in retrospect, understanding that like not every event is for me.
Yeah. I will say this, I think poetry is still in certain cities like not as like popular, right? I know like you go to like San Diego, you have like the San Diego like the poetry slam team, right? You go to Houston, you have Right About Now, and then you have this community of virtual poets, right? You see only like button poetry, and then and so you don't see a lot of like a poetry community, right? There's this guy, he lives out in Lansing, Michigan, right? He's his name is Masaki. He hosts the 517 Poetry Room, and I watched him. Like I've seen his Instagram and I followed it, right? And then when COVID hit, I watched him take virtual on a whole new level, right? And it wasn't just targeted to one group of people or anything like that. Like you have all different types of poets, but they kind of like mesh, And he took virtual on a different level by he had like amazing like A1 liner poets, like people who like showed up to his virtual, and he like, I give him props because he puts a lot of work. It's not just 10 people, it's like 30 people in these Zoom things, and I was featured in one. I would say that was my very first time performing in a virtual poetry because it was very different, right? But I also love the fact that if you go on YouTube, you look spoken word up, you see a lot of everybody, right? But I feel like when you go to different cities and you look up spoken word, you don't find poetry venues, right? You go to open mics, you can probably find like comedians,
hip hop,
and music. And then poetry is kind of like, I think it's shy upon, like people are shy to share, one, to be vulnerable on stage.
100%, I agree.
And then two, sometimes if you don't write that poem that the crowd interacts with, you just feel as though you just failed, right? But I also know that when I host events like showcases of like during the Podiversary or Snap like that, I want poetry to be focused, right? And it's just one of those things where I've learned from Aja Sampson last time. He said, sometimes it's not about like the music, like the background music, stuff like that, because if it's poetry, you want the poetry to be focused. When you add all these extra features, sometimes you lose the main focus. And I know even out here in Dallas, like poetry, like because of what's going on now, you kind of have people slowly building up the poetry community again, but it's a lot harder because we're so used to having a crowd of people and like so close and intimate that, you know, nowadays, right now, like you run into big crowds, but also you gotta still worry about the little precautions you got going.
For sure, 100%.
So what do you have next coming? Do you have a book coming? Do you have like poetry visuals?
Man.
What does Anarchpo3t have coming for the poetry world?
I'm definitely, like I said a little earlier, I'm more focused on the performance aspect of like my art. So I mean, I've got like over 100 something fucking poems already written and done. So it's like at this point,
so you have a poem to drop every
exactly
about 1/3 of the next year.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna
year.
do that, right? I gotta be selective with what is appropriate to be performed and what is like worthy of being performed, because a lot of it is just free writing.
Who do you test your poems on?
Who do I test them on?
Yeah.
You know what? So what I try to do is like close friends who make music, right? So certain artists that I respect from a hip hop perspective, or just period, right? I just admire their work. I'll send them the poems and I'll get their opinion on the writing and see what kind of feedback I get from them, because I value their opinion. But in terms of like what I have going, it's gonna be a lot more visuals. Like I'm kind of done with my old kind of format of the way that I share my art. So I'm not gonna go too far into it. I got some things in the works. I have some videographers and stuff like that I'm trying to coordinate with. So, you know, something's coming, and we'll see, you know, what happens in the near future. But I definitely, you can expect something different, some stuff you've never seen before. So,
well, I can't wait for it. You know,
I'll probably send you some stuff.
I just saw Todd drop like his poetic film, which is I mean I haven't watched it yet or anything. I know it just won an award too, which is dope. So it must be amazing.
Yes.
So I can't wait for him to just have everybody else release that, because, you know, poetry, you know, you think about commercials, right? People are speaking in there, right? So you have people looking for spoken word artists when it comes down to like big brands commercials, you know?
100%.
But I will say poetry can be very difficult, because, you know, you have people who can do it very well. And I feel like a lot of people who can do it very well, they've had like theater backgrounds, right? And it's just something about having theater backgrounds just makes you more animated, right?
Yo, when I was in school, all I wanted to do was be in a play.
Why didn't you do it?
Because I was always afraid of the idea that,
was it
like,
the manhood thing?
Yeah, I was afraid that I'd be labeled as this, that, and the third. And like at that age, at 15, 16, 17, even into my early 20s, like I wasn't secure enough in who I was as not even just a man, right? Just as a person in general, to like be confronted by some of that backlash that I could face by being theatrical or like being in a play. Like, I would fucking kill to be in a play right now. You know what I mean? So that is where like my kind of shift in the way that I'm packaging my content is coming into play. Like now I owe it to myself at this point to explore those things that I never got to really try or was too afraid to try. So now like I'm all out.
So I'm going to predict this. Are you acting in these visuals?
They're gonna be still the poems, right? But you're gonna see a lot more of me and a lot more sides of my creativity.
So storytelling.
Yes, you're gonna see the storytelling element of what I do, and you're gonna see a lot more sides of my personality other than just performing the poem. They're gonna be performances, but you'll see parts of my creativity. You'll see my humor. You're gonna see a lot. So I mean like costume design. I mean like I got this shit down, like written to like so what I'm wearing.
Gabe is gonna host a whole poetry movie.
Yeah, exactly.
A docu series about his life.
We'll see. Stay tuned.
He's like, damn it, Becky, you're over here revealing all the tea.
We got it though.
So I know people who are listening, a lot of poets who are writing, right? You always want to be the best performer. You want to be the best like book author, right? What would you give advice to people who feel like they're just writing just to write for the crowd and not writing for themselves anymore?
I would say to slow down. and like, again, be present. Understand that like, you know, the world is gonna move with or without you. The world was what it was before you came. The world will be what it is after you're dead and gone. So at the end of the day, like, you got, I know it's super cliche, but you really got to do this shit for yourself. Like, cause you know what, like, there are some poems that I've written that I really enjoy that I don't get the same reception from other people, but at the end of the day, it meant something to me. So for me, it's all about, I would tell that poet to, you know, stop and slow down and just understand that like likes and retweets and hashtags and shares stuff, and that shit ain't nothing. That don't mean nothing. I know people who have thousands of followers who ain't doing shit, who are like, you know what I'm saying, it's all a facade, you know what I'm saying? Social media,
well, it's now backwards now. You know, back in when I first started out this like the business of poetry and being a poet and a podcast host, your followers mattered. Right now you look at everything now, it's like, well, it's backwards. Like, people who have 500 followers are the people who are doing the most. It's the quality of the engagement that you're getting. It's not the amount of engagement, it's the quality, right? If I post something and I get 20 likes, but all 20 of those people have commented and shared and posted about it, I'm getting way more engagement and way more quality engagement than I am than somebody that bought followers. And like, hey, look, man, I've been there. I bought followers, but then I also had to gut all that shit and had to bite the bullet. Started like honing down on people who have bots, and now you're like, oh crap, I lost 2,000 followers. It's like, oh shit. Right, and I'm not too prideful to admit it. I got caught up in that stuff too. So at the end of the day, like, I would tell a poet or a performer or a rapper, whoever you are, like, understand that at the end of the day, your poems will live and die with you, and that's all that matters. Well, I like it. I will say, what do you want to leave in this world, like if you ever had died? I mean, like, I know it's your poetry, but like, what's one thing besides your poetry? I mean, for me, the one thing I want to leave behind is just an understanding that like I was genuinely who I was, and whether that means I impacted you on my hope would be that everybody that I come across, I've left some sort of a mark on, whether that be a fond memory or a laughter or even just like a working relationship or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know if I don't necessarily want to be remembered, because at the end of the day, I don't need to be remembered by everybody. I just need to be remembered by the people that care about me and the people that matter to me. So shit, what I want to leave behind is just, I want somebody to think about me and know that I was genuinely who I was. Whether they like me or dislike me, they know that they wasn't getting no bullshit. People who have writer's block, I know 2021 is going to be difficult because we just, you know, there's politics, there's the pandemic and stuff, but you know, you don't want to keep writing about the same thing. What's one thing you could tell people who have writer's block to continue on to keep writing? This is a tough one, because I've reached out to you on a few times here in the last, you know, handful of months that like I've experienced writer's block. So I can only go off what helps me, and what helps me is having new experiences. And like, I know that is a really broad term, right? But like, for me, a lot of what stemmed from my writer's block was like, okay, yeah, new things are happening to me, right? But I'm not feeling an emotion that I haven't felt before. Okay. Feeling something that I haven't spoken on before. So for me, it's been a lot of like self-discovery, and like, you know, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you right now, Becky. There have been some alternative methods that I have employed in trying to unlock some of that creativity. So let's hear it. I'm just gonna be straight. So like, I've done a little bit of experimenting. So like, whether that be like mushrooms and stuff like that. Now I'm not saying, hold on, I'm not saying that that's for everybody, okay? I was in a safe space around people who I trusted. No, I only laugh because you're not the only one that has told me this. People have done other things to, you know, because sometimes people say I smoke just because I write, right? Like, be creative and it helps you, right? But sometimes when you do it so often, it doesn't help you anymore, right? Well, I mean, for me personally, I smoke because it eases like anxiety and things of that nature that have more to do with my mental health than it does with like me trying to unlock my creativity. And I'm not saying I'm out here like... So how did shrooms go for you? Oh man, did you write anything? Did you even write? No, it wasn't writing. A lot of times when it was just experiencing. It was experiencing, and again, being present. So do you have a poem about being on shrooms? I do not. Oh well, you need to write one because I want to know. I could. I'm never gonna do it, but I just want to know. No, and yeah, if you don't want to, that's cool. I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and do it. I just say be careful, because like I had a situation where like
I ate shrooms in at X time and then didn't give myself enough time in between.
You ate another one?
I did them too close. I did them like too consecutively. And what happened, I basically like flushed myself of like, I just felt really numb. And I went into like kind of a lull for a while. So like,
well, we're
these
gonna
things
have a conversation
need to be
about
used
this
in moderation.
off camera because I'm really interested.
Yes. I mean, hey, look, I'm sorry if I blew up the spot, but I'm just saying, like, you got to do what you got to do to try to unlock your creativity. But for me, it was a lot of like self-reflection and working through traumas and things that I just wasn't able to confront in my day-to-day life, whether because I was too distracted or I just didn't allow myself the space to like hurt like that. So for me, it wasn't about unlocking my creativity as much as it was about me like working through my own like traumas and just issues that I wouldn't have confronted otherwise or would have confronted way down the line. And that has like opened up the door for creativity.
So to the listeners who are listening, give us 3 things to help them find themselves and hone into their craft on another level of like their purpose.
3 things I would say. First and most importantly, what helped me was like reconnecting with my family and my loved ones. Understanding that like the time that I've recently moved back home because there are things that I'm planning on doing with my future that are best planned if I like come back home for a while, right? But in that, I've been able to rediscover like my family and like spend more time with my parents than I ever had before, and that I'll probably never get this time with them again. So I would say reconnecting with your family and loved ones, or even just friends if family isn't somebody that you can connect with, right? And then second, I would say like you gotta allow yourself, like be gracious with yourself. Like you gotta allow yourself the space to make mistakes and like not be too hard on yourself, and like understand that like it's okay. I haven't written anything in a month, 2 months, 3 months. Like that's okay. You know, go back to focusing on what makes you happy as an individual, and like forget about it for a while. Forget about your craft for a second. Because what happens is like, you ever heard the saying familiarity breeds contempt?
Nope,
like,
but I have today.
So familiarity, right? If I'm too familiar, eventually I'm gonna grow contempt. I'm gonna be resentful of it, right? So like put it down, leave it alone, drop it, and eventually when you miss it, you'll come back to it. And then third would be like experiment. Try new things. Try something
try some shrooms.
Hold on,
I'm just
wait,
kidding.
nah.
I'm just kidding. Listeners, please, I did not tell you to try any shrooms. I did not.
Okay, so like just try new things, right? So like for me, again, like stepping away from writing and more into performing, right? Like being more vulnerable in the way that I'm gonna perform, right? Like just trying things that I normally wouldn't have tried because of X, Y, Z, right? Just do it, because at the end of the day, you don't got nothing to lose except your own art. Like I may tell you, like, if you stop writing and you stop doing podcasts, I can get on your ass all you want. But unless you want to continue to do it, you're not going to do it.
True.
So, like, it's all about what you want to do. So, like, yeah, that's, I know I'm kind of rambling, but
no, it's okay.
That's it.
We haven't talked in a while anyways.
I miss you, Becky.
Anyways, to end off on a positive note, give me one positive quote and then you end it off with your social media.
A positive quote? Oh man, look, I'm gonna go with my senior quote because gosh. Look, chill.
What did you write in this yearbook?
My senior quote was, "Everything I'm not makes me everything I am." That's Kanye. That's classic Kanye.
Okay.
And Kanye is a genius. For anybody who says Kanye is crazy, I would challenge you to re-examine your view on Kanye. The man is a genius.
And your social media.
Oh yeah, sorry. My social media, Instagram. And I only have Instagram. I don't fuck with any of the other stuff. It's Anarchpo3t. ANARCHPO, the number 3 and the letter T.
Got it.
Yes, Anarchpo3t. That's mind, body, and soul.
Oh, how am I supposed to know?
I just told you.
Okay. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. If you are listening to this, tune in on YouTube so you can see who you're talking to. He has nice green hair. You want to see that. If you're listening on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify, share this with somebody, review it, pass it on to somebody, or just listen to it over and over again because you like it, right? But all right, you guys, we are out.